episode of You Are Not an NPC. So back in January, I was sitting alone at home. I finished 6 games of Magic Chess. I don't think you know this about me, but I'm addicted to a certain game.
What is Magic Chess?
It's some side game within Mobile Legend. And I spend way too much time on it, right? I don't even dare to look on my phone on the statistics that I spent.
I don't know you play Mobile Legend and you play Magic Chess within it. Okay, that's crazy.
It's not a part that I want people to know me for.
You feel embarrassed by it.
I'm damn embarrassed. Like, I'm so addicted and I'm so embarrassed. But anyway, that's not the main point. So I finished 6 games, feeling a little bit guilty. And I was eating my pot of instant noodles and watching K-drama.
Okay.
Just learning new things about me.
One of those nights. One of those nights.
One of those nights. And the interesting thing is, it's been like this since I left Ergotune.
Okay.
Right? It's been 4-5 months since we left. And I felt very unaccomplished. And the next thing I know, ding! My phone notification came up. And, hey bro, how are you doing after the acquisition? And because of that feeling of guilt for playing 6 games of Magic Chess and eating instant noodles, not looking after myself, right? I started to wonder, like, what am I really doing?
Right.
The reality is I was cruising, right? And I was justifying to myself that a lot of people say, oh, it's okay. Yeah, you have worked hard. You should rest. But deep down inside, there are conflicting feelings, right? It's fighting against I have a giant hole in my calendar. I don't know how to feel.
Right.
So I just cruise, right? I just do what comes. I become very reactive to whatever that happens. And I didn't like that feeling, right? Because one of my best friends, my co-founders, is apparently doing something. I don't know what you were doing back then, but I thought that you were still on Twitter. You're kind of online with all the DTC people. You're kind of still learning something, growth somewhere. On the other hand, so I felt like guilty that I'm not like pushing there. I'm not learning any new skills. I'm not doing anything to advance myself. So I then started to think like, okay, I need to rethink this whole thing, right? It's a terrible place to be in. I don't feel comfortable. So I whipped out my handy dandy Notion, right?
Yeah.
I whipped out, okay.
Well, life is organized.
Yes. It's a chaotic, organized pile of information. But anyway.
Yeah. There are secrets to be uncovered in our Notion.
Yes. I'm very afraid to press the AI button. Like, I'm scared.
I tell you the secret to life, bro.
Yes, yeah.
You capture everything you need to capture. You just need to AI that thing. And I tell you, okay, this is what it all means.
Oh shit. So I wrote down like big pillars of my life. And I've done this exercise before. It's just after we moved on, I didn't really spend the time to rethink. And generally, most people have 6 areas that are big parts of their life. Your significant other, your career, your mental health, physical health, impact, spiritual, or your personal growth kind of thing.
For context, I think these pillars is kind of adopted from this book called High Performance Habits, right? Written by this guy called Brendon Burchard. It talks about how people become extraordinary, right? They take care of those pillars in their life.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So I've done this exercise before, and the reason why I want to do this is because I wanted to grade myself on where I am in these pillars to kind of know what I want to work with. And it's a step-by-step process, so bear with me for a while.
Yeah.
So once I got that kind of figured out, I ranked each one of the pillars a certain score, right? And I then decided 2 things that I want to work on. And this falls in line with how I think about the seasons of life. My belief is that a lot of people want a complete view around all 6 pillars. Most of the time, you can only focus on 2.
Okay.
That's my belief. So it could be health this season and work, right? And financial career. It could be health and family, right? And by focus, I mean you really spend intentional time on it. You work on projects that can progress it to improve that score, while the rest of the pillars, you kind of do maintenance. Right? So if you have already achieve your 12% body fat, you're kind of okay on the physical side, you have built in the habits to eat healthy, you can run that on maintenance, right? Unless bodybuilding is like your kind of thing, right? If not, you build that on maintenance.
Right.
Then you focus your attention and energy on working on something else. So that was what I was trying to figure out. And that's how I ran my life. So the reason why that was important was because I wanted to fill up my giant hole in my calendar, right? I felt that time was the constraint. I wanted to segregate and allocate time into projects that I want to work on based on how I've identified the pillars and the things that I want to work on there. So I started to allocate time. I put in things that are important to me, and then I see whether is that a reflection of what I have planned out to be.
Is what a reflection, sorry?
Is my calendar,
Okay.
the ratio of everything that's happening,
Okay.
is it a reflection of what I've decided my pillars of life in this season, what do I want to work on?
Okay.
So I kind of use that to give myself that, okay, I've allocated time, now I just need to do the work.
Okay. So if I understand your process correctly, what you started off doing is you reviewed these 6 pillars, give yourself a grade on where you're performing in each of these 6 pillars,
Yeah.
and decide, hey, out of these 6 pillars, what are 1 or 2 things that I want to intentionally work on? This is how I want to spend more of my time intentionally. Then you take that, you turn that into your calendar, and you look at what you're basically saying is that, hey, whatever you say on paper is bullshit, because the only real reflection is how you actually spend your time.
Yes.
So you're comparing what your calendar looks like
Yes.
in relation to what you wrote down, which is where you say these things are important. And if there's a mismatch, you say health is important by only spending 30 minutes on it a week, then that's
Yes.
bullshit, right?
Yes.
But if you're spending 6 hours on it a week, then that matches up.
Yes.
So you're
Yes.
trying to make sure your action, your calendar is aligned with what you say your values
Exactly.
are. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was how I started. And when I had my calendar and I ran through my day, the only thing that I judge myself on is how strictly I follow my calendar. And it's not saying that you need to follow it to a T, right? It's saying that if I have new things that pops up, which new things always pops up,
Right.
I know what I'm sacrificing because it's right there, right? I have planned it into this calendar that is called the perfect week. And if random things pull me along, I now know that, hey, I'm sacrificing exercise. I'm sacrificing health. It is okay. But across a week, how much are you really sacrificing? And that's the only thing that I judge myself on.
And how do you decide when to say no to a sacrifice or yes to a sacrifice?
It's largely a prioritization problem. I'm trying to filter out things that don't fall into my pillars. And I have previously decided. So for example, one of the big pillars of my previous season is health.
Okay.
Right? I had a slip disc. I was trying to recover. I knew I had to do things that I wasn't comfortable with. I had to go yoga, sports massage, go to the gym, eat healthier. And whenever I had to sacrifice like stretching time to go out with my friends, I will ask myself, hey, is it okay if I put this, if I sacrifice this time? Because I've told myself that this is important. Do I really want to do this now? Or can I reschedule my friends to another time? And that's difficult because they might just go out on their own.
Right.
Right? It's a prioritization problem. So I choose health this season. I chose that this is the time that I want to do this. I will miss out on some meetings. I'll miss out on some meetups. And I'm okay with it. Which is the real spirit of what I'm trying to bring across today. That the way that I have planned it made me feel better about myself. Because it's about intentionality, right? It's about being intentional with how you spend your time and being okay with the decisions that you make. So when I think back on to that January that I had, the problem wasn't not doing anything. The problem wasn't cruising. The problem was that I didn't promise myself that this is a season of rest. This is a season where I cruise, right? And I'm not saying that cruise is bad or cruise is good. I'm just saying that I didn't make that promise to myself.
It's not intentional.
It's not intentional.
It is just something that, you happen to be doing.
Yes.
It's not you're saying, okay, I'm going to spend this month playing games, and
Yes.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you want to do. It's intentional.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yes, and you hear a lot of people that exited their company and then they take 1 year, 2 years to just explore, do new things, rest, find travel, do all sorts of stuff, right? But they probably is not in the headspace of I need to start a business now. I need to work on a career or find a financial input that work that I can have financial input from, right? They weren't. They were like, okay, I have worked. I now want to travel. I now want to rest. At some point in my life in the future, I will start to find new careers. And I think that feeling that you have when you're traveling, knowing that this is intentional, makes you feel a lot better. Makes you feel more in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're not constantly second guessing yourself.
Yes.
Right? You can be like, okay, this is what I meant to do. If a thought comes into your head, which it does, right? Where you're like, are you making progress with your life? Are you supposed to be doing this? Are you supposed to be doing that?
Yes.
You can very easily quash those questions, right? Because you know this is what you're meant to be doing. You have already made promise yourself, okay, I'm meant to be traveling. I'm meant to be exploring.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think having that intentionality and knowing that it is okay. Like there are some things that I sacrifice just because this season I don't have that time. Or sometimes we do this subconsciously, right? Like when running Ergo Tune, subconsciously I have deprioritized a lot of things. Right? I deprioritized my friends. I didn't meet some of my friends for like a couple of years.
Right.
Right. I don't spend time with my family because I go home late. I wake up early. And it just got deprioritized. I felt bad. But because I didn't tell myself that like this season, this is what I want to work on. I didn't communicate that with them also. Right? Which is another huge part, right? That like if I tell you like I want to work on my relationship now, like I may not have time to like meet friends and all these things, like please understand. You'll be like, okay bro, like go do your stuff, right? But if the flip side happens, it's more like you keep asking me out. And then I'm like, oh bro, not free. Oh bro, not free. Right? Then we both feel bad about it.
Yeah. Which if you're intentional about it, both to yourself and to the people around you, then you don't have to feel bad and they can be supportive, right? Because now that I know that you're in a season of caring for your health, for example, right? I can be a lot more supportive of like if I come across health and fitness tips, accommodating to a diet when we are eating, all that kind of things, right?
Yeah. Which you have done very well. Like I when I was in my dieting phase, I've noticed like every time we go out, I want to cheat on my meals all the time, right? I have no discipline, right? So when you go out, I notice you will be like, you sure this one you want to eat? Like you want to choose somewhere else? And I really appreciate that. But because you understand like what I was going through and how this is important to me. Yeah. So like this intentionality in the things that you do, now if you communicate that with other people will feel like they can support you and you feel better about yourself. And all it takes is maybe like 5-10 minutes to sit down and really look into, okay, let's not plan like 3 months, right? For the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, what do I want to focus on? What do I want to deprioritize? Just the bigger things in life. Maybe you just feel a little bit better about what you are actually like doing and how you're spending your time.
Right. Makes sense. And how often do you do this review?
Right. I actually schedule in my calendar.
Okay.
I review it once a month.
Okay.
Yeah, but most of the time it's the same.
The same priorities? Or?
Yeah, the same priorities. Because I don't think, generally the seasons that I have don't last for a month. I just schedule it in my calendar as like a gentle nudge to say that, did anything change?
Okay.
If nothing changed, all good, bro. Just continue what you are doing.
Right. And how long might like a season last for you?
So my health, so my previous was my health season, right? It lasted for about 6 months. 6 months, but health was one of the things. The other part was on relationship, right? And in between, the relationship side got slightly deprioritized because I wanted to do more for work.
Right.
Yeah, so I mainly focus on the 2 big seasons that I want to do to kind of see do I still want to like continue on this progress, or like, okay, well, good, let's maintain here and then like we move on to like focus on other things. Yeah. So like right now, I'm trying to shift my health and fitness side to more maintenance.
Okay.
Then I'm trying to ramp up on more on the work and financial side. Right. So then my calendar like entirely changed based on that whole process.
Right. So I guess in your review you do two things, right? One is it's kind of looking back and like, have you lived your life, right? At least the way you spend your time according to what you say your important pillars are.
Yeah.
So that's like the more macro executional review. But you also ask yourself, are these seasons still relevant,
Yes.
or is there like a shift that's needed?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
This and once again, this may not be the best way. It's just what works for me.
Right.
And I think we spoke about this before. Like I feel very bad to myself because a calendar not only tells you the things that you want to do, it tells you the time that you need to do it at.
Yes.
And I feel bad / guilty whenever I don't do it at that time. So I'm trying to shift a little bit of my mindset to more of a checkbox mentality where checking off exercising in a day rather than checking off exercising at 9 a.m. in a day is more important.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is difficult to like in my head, in my mental model, it's difficult to plan out. Cause for me, it was always easier to just allocate this timing to this activity, and I have higher likelihood of succeeding there. So it's bad. But I recently have switched a little. So sometimes I wake up late, right? I'm a 5:30 a.m. kind of guy.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I admire about you. Like, I was like, how the hell do you wake up at 7 a.m. and like exercise every day?
Yeah.
The kind of discipline you have, I'm not a disciplined person, like, it's incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
I started that because of this calendar thing. Because when I tried to plan out my seasons, I
Right.
couldn't fit it.
Right.
I was like, the gap for the sleeping part seems big. Shift. So I shifted a little bit. So it bought me more time. Yeah, but I don't wake up. I don't always get to wake up at 5:30.
Right.
Sometimes I hang out with you guys until 1, 2 a.m.
Right.
Probably shouldn't do too much of that, but we do, and I love it. But I wake up at 7, right? And then like all the activities before, I don't get to do it. So last time I feel guilty. Now I'll be like, okay, I'll just adjust my calendar on the fly, right? Today, okay, I missed out this part. I shift it down. I shift it down, and like, why am I sacrificing
Right.
work, right? Yeah. Enough times where I know that, okay, if I have a 1 a.m., 2 a.m. night, this is going to happen. And I'm okay, right? Because friends are important to me, right?
Right.
If it takes spending late nights, it takes spending late nights.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, which I think is going to be very useful for our a lot of our listeners, right? I don't know who's listening. Probably just your wife.
Yeah.
Hi, Liz. It's gonna be it's useful because your way of doing it, when I look at it, it's like freaking hardcore, dude.
Yeah.
Right? You do a certain thing. It's not just you have to go to the gym. You have to go to a gym at a certain time, right? Which is unfathomable for me, right? That's so hard to stick to. And for I think a lot of people, you know, there's kids, there's work, like all sorts of things will come up, right? Which makes it very unattainable. So this mindset, I guess, is useful, right? Which is to say that the key is to get the thing done, right? You might have a planned time that you try to do it, which is very useful, right? To have a routine, right? You ideally aim to do it during that routine. But if for some reason you can't, right? It's okay as long as you tick off that box, right? At the later part of the day, you can shift things around. So that's useful. I think the second point, which is also what you were saying earlier, right? Which is that if you do change the plan, it's also intentional. You're asking yourself, what are you sacrificing this for? Right? Like, are you sacrificing exercise or something that you don't care about because people ask you to do it and you just like, say yes because you're a people pleaser? Or you're saying yes to something that actually is also important to you. It's just, it happens to be important in a way, but it comes out in a way that's spontaneous, right? Like a lot of social gatherings, right? You know that relationship is important to you, but social gatherings sometimes are just spontaneous, right? And the most beautiful conversations are something that happens 5 minutes before it's meant to happen, and like you guys decide we want to meet, right? You make time for it. You know that that's what you're sacrificing for, and it's gonna be worth it, right? It's not like, oh, you're going to, I don't know, a wedding you don't want to go to, right?
Yes. Oh my god, weddings are always planned like 6 months in advance. It just screws up my plan.
And you still don't want to go to them. It's like 6 months of a wedding that you freaking don't want to go to.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, that's useful, right? Like knowing what you're sacrificing for, and again, the point here you're making is about intentionality, right? It's intentionally spending your time, but intentionally knowing what you're saying yes to what you're sacrificing for.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's useful. I think I was struggling with this for a while as well, right? Like,
Fun fact, before you go, this whole perfect week thing, you sent me an article.
did I?
Yes. Like, the reason why I became obsessed over this thing was because I thought that was the Bible. Like, oh my god, Yihao is freaking productive, right? I see him, he's like working, like he must be following this, right? Let's get this like down. Like, I need to understand this to the core. And then I just rolled with it for like six freaking years, dude.
Okay.
And then one day I realized you are not even following it at all, man.
I'm glad I've inspired you. When I send you things, I'm trying to inspire myself.
Alright.
I think sometimes I only read the headlines like, this seems useful.
Yes, yeah. You send too much articles that you...
You're my bookmarking system.
Oh, gee.
You're my to-read list, bro.
Oh, gee. Not the to-do list.
Not to-do list. Not the red list, you're the to-read list.
Right.
Okay. Yes, bro. I send you a lot of things I aspire to do. Yeah, as in, I think I was struggling with this for a while as well, right? The last 3 months ago, we were considering a lot of things that we wanted to start, and I was struggling with it because I don't know whether to go in full on like a business opportunity or like do something else, right? And that was kind of tension where it feels like, and society and my kind of inside voice feels like it's telling me that I should dive into doing another business and something that can be much larger than Ergo like as soon as possible, because the opportunity is going to slip away, right? Things are moving so fast, everything's going to slip away. Like if there's an opportunity, I need to like cling on to it and like grab onto it and like just go all in, right? There's a part of my voice inside me that's telling me that, but there's also a part of my voice that's like, let's take it easy, let's take it chill for a little bit, explore before you jump into it.
Right.
And for almost 6 months of struggling between that, right? Like exploring and trying to dive into a business opportunity while doing on one side, and on the other side, not doing that and doing things to explore or do things I usually wouldn't do and kind of feed my soul. So I think that was a big struggle until recently I decided, very clearly, very intentionally that, at least for the next 6 months, I'm not gonna dive into like a business opportunity full time, right? I'm not gonna go all in on something, right? Instead, I'm gonna spend that time exploring, do things that I otherwise normally wouldn't do, right? That I previously have never done in my life. I'm gonna dedicate this season to exploring the more creative creation side of me, right? Which is why I'm doing things like improv, like trying to stand up comedy and doing this content creation stuff, right? Things I normally wouldn't have done, right? And it's only because I have that clear intentionality of not just what I want to do, but what I want to give up. Right. There's no struggle of like, oh shit, I really need to go and start a business now, right? If that opportunity comes in, I'll be like, nah, this is not the season for me now.
Right.
Yeah, and that both saves a lot of my time, but also makes it so much more comfortable inside.
Yes.
Yeah, because you know what you're not supposed to do, and you know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's a promise to yourself, like you said.
What was the trigger that like helped you make that decision? Because it's not easy, because I think we both have the same struggle of like, we should perform, we should do something soon. Like there is this arbitrary timeline that we need to follow based on whose standards, not sure, or this pressure that we built internally that like we built something that is decent. It's now time to go for the big one, right? And what made you decide that I'm okay spending the next 6 months working on myself? Right, it's fine.
I wouldn't say there's one specific trigger. Sometimes it's you need to take action to make decision kind of thing, right? And this is as I took enough action, it became clearer. To be fair, you need to be looking out for that signs, but as I took more actions, it became clearer. So when I started realizing this is that 3-4 months ago, I started doing improv. Like it scared the hell out of me, but I tried doing it. And then I realized I love it. And kind of on the same day I realized I love it, I had like a great improv session. I also had an opportunity to like dive into something full time, right? And like when I compared that two opportunities of like, there's this part of me that's doing something that's entirely new and scary to me in the act of creation and creativity, which is foreign to me. Like I'm an Excel guy, right? And there's this part of like going back into business, diving into something full time that can be huge. And I made that comparison, like it just became crystal clear to me. Okay, I rather do improv and creation, do something I'm not good at, that I've never been good at, that was not part of me. I much rather take this next 6 months to a year to do that. Yeah, that was like, it crystallized for me. I was like, okay, that part I'm gonna give up on. And like, okay, I think one of the things is that it's easy for us to say this now, because we're in a place where we don't have to work full time, right? How would you make this relevant for most people who have a full-time job, who's juggling work, family, kids, and all sorts of things, right? Because back when I was working outside in a corporate job or when I was running ErgoTune, it was so hard. Like there was no space or time for me to think about this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I've never worked for people before, so I don't really understand.
Sure.
There will be some assumptions that I made, so don't give me hate for it. I think one thing that I realized is that because of the career that we chose, we get to first principle our time, right? Which is a huge edge, right? I get to go to the gym at like 3 p.m. when there's nobody.
Can you expand more on like what does first principles, your time
Right.
mean?
So there are usual social constructs of time, like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. you need to be in the office, right? That time from your calendar is just blocked out in work, and you are left with like everything else. When I say first principle of time, I can choose to work at 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then I just stop and I do other things and then come back and just rearrange it into what fits my life.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like a benefit that we have because of the career that we chose. But also, I've learned that a lot of my friends became parents, right? And they were busy before and they are busy after they have kids.
Right.
And after they became parents, they still had time to do the things that they were doing before they became parents. So things like exercising, they thought they would be deprioritized. Things like playing games with their friends, they thought it would be deprioritized. But for some reason, they are still able to find time to do these things, just maybe not as often. My point is, a lot of people, or at least people that I spoke to, might seem like they are very busy, but if you really go and track down every minute, every hour of the things that you spend on, you will then realize where you are really spending your time. You have lesser time to play with, but within those time, how are you spending it? How many people you know will go home play Wukong or just go to a pub, right? Just go and drink, right? I'm not saying those are wrong. I'm just saying that should be more intentional.
Whether it's intentional.
Whether it's intentional, right? You can go drink with your friends once a week. What are you sacrificing? You wanted to start a business, you want to start a side hustle, you wanted to work on your business. That time could be used to research. That time could be used to start. But you chose to spend time with your friends. Is that intentional? Nothing wrong. It's just whether is that intentional. If that is intentional, then the other parts are just not that important.
Okay, makes sense. So your pitch to someone who has to work a 9 to 5, right? Who doesn't have as much free time as we do. I mean, 9 to 5 is bullshit. Now it's like 9 to 6, 9 to 7, right? Is that, yes, you're going to have less free time to play with. 100%.
100%.
100% you have less free time to play with, right? No doubt about that. Your pitch to them is that nonetheless, you should take an hour, right? Think about what pillars are important to you, how you want to be intentional with it. Then do a time audit, right? Because you would find that you are spending time on things that you're not intentional about, right? You just happen to fall into it, right? You just happen to, go home instinctively, you're tired, your first trigger is play Mobile Legends or watch Netflix. But in your prioritization, you might say you want to start a business, right? By not spending time on that, but you have learned to watch Netflix or play Mobile Legends to unwind. And that is nowhere in your list, right? Nowhere in your list is to say, I want to rest, right? Then you have to ask yourself, is your priorities different or are you not executing?
Yes.
Right? Again, you're not saying that everyone has as much time as we do, right? You're saying even in the little free time they have, and you're not working 24 hours, right? You're working 10 hours, 11 hours. There is still free time that you can allocate to things you care about. You might not be able to spend as much time as you want to,
Yes.
but you can, right? You
Yes.
can make progress on
It's
it.
just slower progress. But
Just
it's
slower
still progress.
progress,
And honestly, you spend an hour learning a skill every single day. Within a year, you'll be better than a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like you can probably get like I've seen people working full time, going home to learn coding, a year later become software developer. Entirely different job scope. It's crazy. It's just whether you do you want to put in the work? Do you allocate time to put in the work? Or what are you deprioritizing or prioritizing?
Yeah. It's both prioritizing it and more importantly, deprioritizing the things that you say you don't care about.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I'm not saying I spend all 16 hours working also. I schedule time for Netflix also. I schedule time for TikTok, bro. I schedule time for TikTok, bro. Yeah, but I got more time to play with lah. Yeah. Yeah. Not saying it's good. It's just I wanted to schedule rest. Is sleep or TikTok?
right. Yeah, that makes sense. It's health or rest or entertainment, right? Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And how do you choose like what seasons to focus on?
Oh, that's I currently don't have a very good framework. But a lot of it I've started to do journaling again, and I think writing down mini thoughts that happens across the day, and kind of reflecting on what's good, what's bad, what did I feel yesterday consistently over a couple of months, made me have clearer thoughts. Some things I cannot really choose. Like some season I cannot choose. For example, I had a sleep dish, right? I cannot really choose whether or not I want to jump into the health season because it is pain. Like I need to get this sorted. If not, like I just feel terrible.
It's forced upon
you.
you.
It's forced upon, right? I think the tougher ones are those that are always there, like your significant other. Those are tougher because you do spend time with them, right? May not be intentional, but you do spend time with them because you live in the same space.
Right.
And I recognize that, right? So even though I live with my wife, I schedule in like time that we spend time together, put our phones aside, we decide what we want to do. And then like we take that time to be like, okay, this is quality. Everything else is just we are there. Right? We are there on the way by the way.
Right.
But this time is sacred. Like it's protected. It is our time.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that is such an important distinction, right? It is so easy to deprioritize the things that will always be there.
Yes.
Right? It is exactly, I think the pitfall that I fall into, right? It's like, oh, I must go hard on my career, right? I must go hard on my health and all these kind of things that if I don't grab the opportunity out, it will go away.
Yes.
Right? But I don't think enough about my family, right? Because it feels like my mom will always be there.
Yeah.
But it's not true, right?
Yeah.
There's this, have you heard of this idea called the tail end?
No.
We can pull it up. Tim Urban from Wait But Why has this beautiful infographics about the tail end, right? Which is the idea that a lot of the things that we do with our parents, we're at the tail end of it, right? Think about all the dinners that you're going to have with your parents in your lifetime, right? You've probably already had 90% of it. Right? You used to have dinner every day with your parents, right? Now, if you are lucky, you have it once a week, right? Effectively, you have the tail end of it.
Right.
And that applies to a lot of things with our parents, with our family, right? My first emotional thought is when I prioritize family will always be there. I can prioritize them at some point. But now that you think about it, it's actually, when you say this is so easy to prioritize, it's actually not true, right? You're at the tail end, they're gonna be gone either physically or mentally, either gone or physically or mentally gone at some point, right? We have less time than we think. That's a good reminder for me to work on that.
Yeah. It's difficult to balance out. And most of the time, these are maintenance stuff until it becomes problem.
Yeah.
So I think that's a constant struggle.
Yeah. So the things that don't scream at you, that it's still so important. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and all of this just reminds me of the saying, right? And I think it applies in business as well, which is the idea that in life and in business, You can do everything you want, like everything.
Yeah.
It's just not all at once,
Yes.
right? Everything is possible,
Yes.
just not at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same for life, same for business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can negotiate reality.
You can negotiate with it. You can build your full will, just not all parts of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
Okay.
that's a beautiful conclusion to this episode.
Yeah. That's the pot.
That's the pod.
That's the pot.
We're still figuring out our closing. Liz, if you are listening or one listener, please give us feedback on like how to close this nicely.
Nice.
How do you close it? Let's try a few. That's the pod. You're not an NPC. That's that's the pod.
You play a jingle so that it overlaps so they can.
Oh, we should have a jingle contest.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh. Okay, we'll do that when we have 10 listeners.
Nice.
10. Okay, we should reward ourselves. We have 10 listeners who unlock paying for a jingle.
Okay.
No. Okay, wait. We need to schedule this. Like, okay, 50 listeners will do our logo.
Okay.
100 listeners will do a jingle.
Oh, nice.
Okay. 1,000 listeners will buy a freaking studio.
Our bar's so low, bro. Our bar damn low, bro.
It's about creating 1,000 true fans.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't think we will have less than 50, right?
I'll watch Fortina a bit.
Okay.
Reviewing my own performance.
You dare to watch or not?
Okay.
Okay.